All right. So we start with mandala offering and then refuge and bodhicitta. Sa shi pyoki jun shi me to tam ri ram ling shi ni de gen pa di Sangye Shindu Mite Owa Gidro Kunanda Shin La Chupa Shuidan Guru Ratnamandala Kamiyatayami Sangye Chodong Sogi Chonam La Chanchu Bardu Dami Kyabsun Che Dagi Chuji Diben Sonam Drolam Penche Sangye Drupara Shu Sangye Chodong Sogi Chonam La Chanchu Bardu Dami Kyabsun Che Dagi Chuji Diben Sonam Drolam Penche Sangye Drupara Shu Sanje Chodong Soji Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dani Kyabsuji Dagi Chuji Yibin Tsonu Ji Drolam Pinchi Sanje Drupara Shu Kanki Tuzi Nizone Tawa Tamchi Pambi Chere Tambi Chun Dunzi Kodum Tela Changse Lo
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, my boss. Lindsay. Lindsay is my
Big boss Lindsay.
Consumes a gemoshik jit gear shenda mandaj.
Geshe is still fond of your way of laughing, Lindsay. No, it's really, that's a unique way of laughing. It has to be spontaneous, all right.
So, 당한도 되는 망 직시고 orda Lindsay. 단다 로조 님이 새끼. 다간스 참도 배시들이 다진 지위출 노르드 조선도스. 다 현든 되니기 찬주 종수 몰라 니세티. 되네래. 되네 로저레스.
그래서 셴든 dünyagi janjugi sen junsu la ni dirve.
그래, 배셔리. 강 즉대스 라야나면은
So we're going to look now at the section. Sorry. So first off, let's share it on the screen. All right. So we're looking at the section of actually cultivating the awakening mind concerning with the interest of others. We've finished covering the previous sections that gave a brief account of how to exchange self and others, and in covering the cultivation of bodhicitta, the awakening mind. This section has 2 points: taking the practice to heart in the context of an actual meditation session, and what to do after the meditation session. The first involves meditation on love and then on compassion.
완전 찬서 데우데스 맞아 덴디 사와르다 데리케라서 당부 배치치고 그랬어.
Well, actually, before we continue with that, Geshe is wondering if, for those of you who are sitting on the floor, are you comfortable? We have a set of new carpet runners. Do you call them? All right, carpet runners. So
okay.
Are you comfortable? All right. Rob, are you comfortable? All right. Do you need someone to fan you? Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Well, that being the case, now we have to listen carefully to the teachings.
로존디기다 저저여나 메나디 찬주고 샘종술티 차겨러스라 딜로존디기다 저저여나 메나디리라 안직 태버 챔뷰게 다 냠넨슨 랍데야게 직 자침 젠데야게 비기다 직 아니 아마타버디 아니 찬주고 샘 종술디 차겨러스라.
So as we begin with the action instructions on developing bodhicitta, the awakening mind, with the actual cultivation of the awakening mind, then keep in mind that here we're looking at a text that is called Mind Training Like the Rays of the Sun. So in training a mind, the subject matter of this text is training a mind in the Mahayana Dhamma. And as such, to train a mind in the Mahayana Dhamma, the root thing, you can say that the mother of all training, so to speak, is the training in bodhicitta.
다 잔주고 샘디 걸 때니 기그레스 라운디 인질라 때니 기그레스 라 규소디 젠든 되니긴 돈바 젠든 되니긴 돈바 아니 규긴 돈바딜라야 인지 샤고 그레스 코란다 손대면 촉은 돈발라야 아니 잔주 되니긴 돈바디샤고 그레스 딘디기단 돈바니다 뎀비 거네 아니 잔주 심전 탐지기 쳇 도절하나면 양다 보조비 산지 공부 토벌 리비 somebody 아니 찬주 그 셈세 디차고 그래서
So here our practice depends upon bodhicitta, and as such, bodhicitta depends upon the two aspirations. So we have the aspiration that accompanies the mind of enlightenment, which is striving for the state of complete enlightenment, and then the causal aspiration, which is seeking to benefit others. This causal aspiration is compassion. So then when we put together these two aspirations that come together with the mind of enlightenment, it is the wish for the highest enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings.
데딘자다 딘디기 삼바삼부터 찬주 셈세디 가르친다 냠낸 치고를 가르친데야 아니 배순 치고 그랬을런디 원주기다 톱잘라나메와 산지 고만디 톱고간자 디기체도 디기체도다 디기탑 연하면나 메타메디 찬주구 셈인자 아니 디기체도 좋은 거 그랬어 디기체도 좋은 거 그랬어.
So you might wonder, why do we need to train in this kind-hearted bodhicitta? Why do we need to do it? Why do we need to put an effort into the development of bodhicitta? Well, in order to attain the highest enlightenment, we need to employ the method for reaching that state. And the main method for reaching the state of enlightenment is bodhicitta.
데자다 디 규초도 교와 다 잘라다 마선 다 초도 교와 차그 여반자 아니 렌단 쳔부 로 차고한자 다디 배주 지야디 다이 비기 오늘 자네게 제어버질이야 배주 제고 그러마도 지 담여버질이야 뭐버도지라 답변나 빼나 잔주구 쌤디 산지 컴퓨터 비체도 잔주구 쌤 공고 그랬어. 심전 탐지기 된주 비체도 잔주구 쌤 공고 그랬어. 마도 지 랑기 신디기 아니 빼나지 디기 체도 류롱주 빼나지 쌤 신디낭 상기 안지 로데부 용약 체도 기부 용약 체도 안 잔주구 쌤 공기 삼바이나 다들 배주 재단디 노드로요사레스 콜롱 계단디 노드로요사레스 라
So then, when we regard the best causes for the state of enlightenment, the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, is the best cause, the most supreme cause for attaining the state of enlightenment. And as such, it becomes an invaluable cause. It is suitable, it is worthwhile to develop bodhicitta, because if you're aspiring to attain the state of enlightenment, it can be attained through the development of bodhicitta. For the sake of sentient beings, for the welfare of sentient beings, we develop bodhicitta. These are the reasons, solid reasons for developing bodhicitta, for the sake of highest enlightenment, for the sake of sentient beings. Whereas if contrary to that, your attitude would be that you would seeking things that belong to this lifetime only, to have a good life, to have for your physical well-being to go well. If you're seeking possession or comfort or happiness, the joys of this life, and you develop bodhicitta for the sake of accomplishing those states, you're using bodhicitta in a way that is incorrect. A mistaken way of developing bodhicitta, because your motivation to begin with is an incorrect motivation.
어디에 배로 리샤그도 왔어 배나 아니 배나 세기 쇼 팀디 라 공천부 쇼거디 상주 나라야 페이지 치즈 제바나 아니다 톨라로 왔어 어디 소로치.
Just to give you an example, if you have a gold leaf, right, a piece of gold leaf, which is it's like a paper. And you would, rather than using it for gold leafing, you use it as a toilet paper. It's a mistake, apparently.
Dinza pena ji tsin digi tendu nyechin tsin digi le samni chanchu sem ji nyensam cheba na yongya yosamares ro yongya yomares dizo cholares ta ngone thanni gi chanchu sem le ya samlo tan ni nyenji le ya samlo tan ani simjing gi dedun le ya samlo tan di chid lame san ji komba tobe le ya bezun cheba na tsin Rangshingi and Kibu Paboko, Sherlan drew Yonyachi, Resin the Lamanambi Tisungudas, Ra, Tijaja Yadama Saris.
So if your focus is what can be attained in this life, right? Things that belong to this life, and you develop bodhicitta in order to secure all those different things that could be attained in this life, comfort and such, well, you're not going to get it through bodhicitta. In that sense, you're wasting your time if you're aiming at attaining all the affairs of this life through bodhicitta. So if you, rather than focusing on the affairs of this life, if you develop compassion to sentient beings, if you're intent on accomplishing the welfare of sentient beings, and you make effort in doing so, then as a byproduct, you can say that on the side, this lifetime will be made happier, would be made more comfortable, more relaxed.
The Junzen Yasijatama, the Junzen Nanda, Penangansta, Tungi Shepard, the Karis Laundi, Anzu Mandriba, Makiba, and Mareba Titsama Lo, Zawa wanted to say the Chadam Mosole, Tuguyabadi, Sewures, Ra, Tinza, Ninji Dan, Chambadan, Chanju, Semleya, Katsus, Comdi, and Tuba Tsugi, Ranjuki Chadandi. Nyon drogres, Chagdan shuk chon drogres, ra. Chagdan shuk chon drogangi, Chagdan gawangi, le migiwa sayadi, nyon drogres. Le migiwa nyon drogana di drebu dunga nyon drogres, ko ranjingiti, ro chunyeros. O dindrich inza sambat namdaki pigige, ninji dan chamba, chanchu sem gombalaya, bezun cheda, yacha gyatamba. And Sukibu Yungres, the same decor gomaris. Nichanju send the Ninjile, Kalijan, Napi, Kangashu, traders, Zawin, Tobacco Gomandasti.
And there's a reason for saying that on the side, if you develop compassion for others, if you become intent on fulfilling or accomplishing the welfare of others, as a byproduct, this lifetime will be made happier, more comfortable. There's perfect reason for saying that, because when we look at situations which do not work out for us, those uncomfortable situations, undesirable situations, all those situations can be clearly seen to arise from anger, attachment, and ignorance. So then when we develop loving kindness and compassion and bodhicitta, commensurate with the strength of our loving kindness and compassion and bodhicitta, anger and attachment will be reduced. So when we have lesser degrees of anger and attachment, we accumulate less karma, which brings about suffering. So if we accumulate less karma, if we take fewer actions that harm others, also we experience less suffering. It's a natural process, it's a natural state, and therefore loving kindness and compassion, bodhicitta, are the states in which if we put effort into cultivating them, definitely 100% guarantee that we will be happier or more relaxed. So we don't need to worry about the effort that is required in order to develop loving kindness and compassion and bodhicitta. In that if you have that, if you become a little bit concerned thinking that, is it really the case that if I develop loving kindness and compassion and bodhicitta, it will also on the side as a byproduct will make my life happier, more comfortable? You don't need to be so concerned about it. It will definitely happen.
The country ninji the chambogomni chagdan yon progress labainas ra. Manzi kawala ninji yoba tela dansam kia di nyon drogdas ra ninji yoba nyon drogdas tilda. Tinza simjan tamchilaya migni, simjan tamchilaya migni, ninji gomda, chagdang lodi, chagni pigi chogri chesadi lagdores. Tamchi chigban tongondi, any chogri chesagi, any yul kora lagdodas. Terita chogri chesagi yul mena chagdang ranshingi yedores. Chagdang pigi taji tombi in the timsadi chagdores. 착당 면은 착당 왕길에서 어떤 시원은 용의 거래요 말이죠.
And you might wonder, in what way does loving kindness and compassion reduce anger and attachment, make them smaller? Well, to begin with, let's look at compassion. If you develop compassion to others, then naturally anger or a sense of hostility towards them will be reduced. And also, when you look at attachment, when you develop compassion to all sentient beings, you reduce the sense of partiality, which is focused only on a selected group of living beings out of all living beings. So if you develop compassion to all sentient beings, then anger and attachment will naturally dissipate. Sometimes we say they disappear into an empty sphere, into the sphere of emptiness.
nganzu bi chaksa jiona teni chaksa jiyo tsebejila dansa lengures chaksa mena dang sam kondro sago yegeta gyunsen kora yomares tenza chaksa mebadi ani ranyam ani chigyur tayati ta chaksam goyagi tab yakshut dijik chagdos.
So when you think about it, if you have a sense of attachment to someone, as a result, you'll also have anger or hostility. If you have attachment to a selected group of people, inevitably there would be also anger and attachment to others. So anger or aggression with respect to others. So if you don't have any sense of anger or attachment, there would be no reason. So if you have no attachment, no partiality towards others, there would be no reason for you to become angry. So therefore, when we develop a sense of equanimity, or when we eliminate our anger and attachment to a selected group of people, when we come to see everyone is equal, develop that sense of sameness in our consideration of others, anger and attachment do not have reasons for arising.
아니 초바디기다 직 메참만다 봐 수중을 참분 통부첸 게제시는 로바이나 아니 참만던 통부차야지 라 디마치나 아니 소소 개장을 리드야지 아니 수단 만천 봐 차려야지 디 용고도스 그래서 아니 파 담부 수중을 아니 잠제때야디 베 개침버리스 수중을 메샬이야 잠지 땐 두바나 아니 란싱기 티기 아니 참니 수 참부칭인디 만로그레마도 뇽 자원인 로마로스 라 어두 상단 로바나 메세데 기부 안 기와 심말에 펜바 어딘디 차고서레스.
So then when you think about, for example, ourselves, finding ourselves in different groups or communities. If we live in a community and there is harmony amongst the members of the community, the group, or what have you, if we are in agreement, things will go well for us. Whereas if you do not have harmony between yourself and others, if you have disagreements between yourself and others, you will find yourself lonely. You will be in disagreement with others, and it will also affect your mental state. So from our own side, what we want to do is to nourish that sense of loving concern to others. And if we do develop love and concern for others, they will start to reciprocate that. If we treat others with a sense of love, with a sense of concern, they will also treat us in in a similar way. So we'll have better happiness, a more and a way of living that is more relaxed. Not only will affect this life, but it will also affect our future lives.
There's the dingy young Bachavalaya and Jing say, Pitaji Ranjin Shuk Chambo Chedeati, Kago Yasares, Madame Alajik love song, Alajik Chemason, and in Nala Dukja Tong Dagdu, Ngal Dukja Lagdu, Ngalajik, some Debaina, Teni, and a post of Shuch Charge Reshas, Ra. The Dimasamachi, deep and yon tanro, and it's Tangan Samalo, Randa Shan Samalo, Devan Deva, the Dungamadu, Chiguri, Coranzo, Digi Gugure, the Coranzo Digi Chon, degree Samsung Soroj, a dig Lotilea, Katsu Sigi, and in Bezunchi, Gomba Titsugi, and Ranchins in the Yon Dressares. Tin Yondrona Chadan and Nugore, Suzuki Chadan, the Yon Tangarimado, Mishambalea, and the Capsan Shuji, Suzu Conrad. 제 연구여 서말이 어딘지 삼로 디테스 땅투 바나 당원이 대버침이 쉐드 디레샤스로.
So then when we think of the way that our mind reacts to certain situation, when we think of I, when we think of me, when we cherish the self that is so adhered to by the sense of self-grasping, when we think that that person said this to me, they've spoken negative, they've said that negative thing to me, they've done such and such to me, they said something that was negative to me. When there's so much emphasis on the I and together with that self-cherishing, your mind is made uptight. So we want to reduce that state of mind which is uptight. And to do that, we recognize that all living beings, all of us are the same in seeking happiness and well-being and in not seeking happiness. So you think of others and you think they want to be happy. May they have the happiness that they seek. And when you make effort in cultivating that wish for others to have happiness and well-being, your own anger and attachment start to abate. They will be reduced. And that benefits our own mind, right? So it will benefit your mind, rather than thinking that if I do that, then others will take advantage of me or they will do such and such to me, rather than thinking of what others will do to you. If you were to cultivate love and concern for others, think about it that it is for your own benefit that you cultivate love and concern for others.
And Jig Chong Mason, each Mason Samson, Duja Chia Chodi, Samlo Daniela, Gago Saris, Katsu Siki, Su Duja Chieti, Susu Matemba Chia, Tabshi, Chevanta Yakshich, Rongazu Duja Cheva Tambaina, and Magiva Legdo, Rotso Dungaj Legdo, E Maramaj Legdos, Tinza Duja Chia di Matemba Chia. 디 삽래야 지 소소래 야부 체제 유도서 수 챵바 챵바이나 데니 안 디기 데와티 그레스 샘 기부 소그레스 박배부 소그레스 라 베나 사상진 바이나야 아니 야부 체외기 참 마무 쇼여라스 드수 챵바 챵바이나 가드네 드수 챵비 토니 아니 냠드 시바이나 아니 기부 용서 상고도 내가 사상대요 기부 용서 상고도라 다 독자 체교디 식도가 나고 가드네 데셈느냐 남규데 도 쇼규디 틴셈느냐 덴데식 말이디 또 장대바나 아니 만침바 차려야 레도스디.
So of course in our life we can think of situations where things have not happened in the right way for us. So such and such a thing has happened. The person has done that thing to me, it was negative. The other person has said a negative thing to me. So if we dwell upon all those different situations, if we think about them, if we remind ourselves of those situations, our mind will be made unhappy. So we need to find ways to not attend the mind, not think about or not remind ourselves of all those negative things that have happened to us. It makes the mind unhappy. So rather than reminding ourselves of those negative things that have occurred to us before, we want to remind ourselves of the positive things that have happened to us before, or the positive qualities of other people, other living beings. So, for example, if you're living in a relationship, if you're in a couple relationship, and you remind yourself of the good qualities of the other person, and you do it continuously, right? You remind yourself of the good qualities, the good things that the other person has done for you. Geshe reckons that you'll be able to live in that relationship longer and be happy or content in that relationship. Whereas if you dwell on things that do not work out in that relationship, they've said such and such to me, I didn't like their body language, I didn't like what they've done, and you keep it in mind, and you dwell on that again and again, you remind yourself of that again and again, inevitably anger will arise.
어디로 sometimes said that 정zul의 닝우시 내급지 냠nen당 제단 튼섬지 내급지 냠네 담보 무시 걸려야 니 잠바곰바당 닌지곰바스 다디 코럼 가르치는 리고르스라 닌지곰바도 잠바곰발란도 잠바곰바도 닌지곰바 갈란딘 저 담보니스 동네 님보 별마장 셰송데 류론주 게자 신을 땅에 권에 잠바곰발라 토머 페이어삼나 저 슈타 겨운규 페이어네 땡인지 잡을래 제어타티 TV 신다는 초반 남만 에미 진예바 견초 남의 대이 땅 주비 잠비 셈지 장다 철매비 제응오부 야치비 율타두비 신라 뒤다도 초바 제발래 소놈 치체와 송바탕 잠벨 기신거벌래냐 장실 이참나 산기 온주 쳔비 직대 이캄 똥기 gem바 시샤와 되나 gelong gobal shubi deva sendo simjen namje deva de deno ter lo chewa gya tong sanju chebeni shinde tana senkol tembi yuzamdu simjen tamjela chambi semkena hamale sonum chemandu kena ninsen kan ninsen do neba tachmi shishebatan shishebatan rinchen chamale ziu chosum gyayi kazeta nyeri tusum chimbayka chamba yuzum tanchiki sonum tala charmebe tham chamba gyowatan teda kyanu sonda yide wada dewamen dudan sungi ne meba beba meba tentop tan sambin jiden ki yote kadin jowa ma gyukya chamche yonde ge tobo she son 단대직 로젠다 잠바여는 삼미 잠시 낭긴 도와다 야외견 드디 참비 또기 판번 제바 손비 초도교 소소스
So looking at the actual cultivation of bodhicitta, the awakening mind concerned with the interest of others, there are two sections: taking the practice to heart in the context of an actual meditation session, and what to do after the meditation session. The first involves meditation on love and then on compassion. Let's begin with meditation on love. Now, the 7-point mind training, which is the root text of Mind Training Like the Rays of the Sun, says practice of combination of giving and taking. So when that is explained, it says when we meditate on love by such means as giving away our bodies, possessions, and merit to others, we should firstly understand the benefits to be gained through so doing. Then we will be filled with a great eagerness to practice the actual techniques for activating love. The King of Meditative Stabilization Sutra says, were we to make as many infinite huge offerings as millions and billions of realms in the universe, and were to offer them forever to the supreme beings, we would not compare with a fraction of the mind of love. So the Buddha has said that the merit created through love is far greater than that derived from constantly offering objects of great value to Buddha fields across far reaches of a universe. In the Sutra on the Adornment of Manjushri's realm, it is said, The northeastern direction, which is said to be adorned by 1,000 realms of the universe of the extremely powerful awakened being Mahashvara, every sentient being experiences happiness like the bliss of those bhikshus who are absorbed in meditation on the cessation of suffering. Such good conduct extends over thousands of millions of years. Yet one person in a world to generate yet we're one person in a world to generate love for all sentient beings for even as long as it takes to snap his fingers, the merit he produced would be far greater. So what need is there to mention the value of abiding day and night in meditation on love? Now, Nagarjuna in his precious Garland says, even giving 300 delicacies 3 times every day to monks would not equal a part of the merit of even one moment of love. You will be loved by gods and men, and they will also offer you protection. You will experience mental ecstasy and much happiness, and poison and weapons will do you no harm. You will effortlessly achieve your purpose and could be born in Brahma's realm. Even if you have not attained liberation, through love, the 8 spiritual qualities are gained. So if you have love, gods and men will gather together under its force. Even the conqueror, Buddha, defeated the malevolent forces of Mara through the power of love. Therefore, it is the supreme protection and so forth.
대다 류론주 다데마 lokshayda 류론주 게자땅이 고니 장박곰바 칸이 셰냠나스 딘디디 콩카리요리 로스게 쫀주 자스치모 시발레게 송샤스 나는 기바 잔주기 샘 초기 렘비체 존초 존 우시급 담지 초경 우주비 콘드 잠인지기 민남 다티비체 류론조 게자동 송라 치 송라스 제
So you might wonder about the source of the explanation for meditation on love through giving away our body, wealth, and virtue. It is to be found in Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Shantideva being an Nalanda master, in the chapter concerning acceptance of the awakening mind in a formal ceremony. When the ceremony of actual acceptance is over, just before the actual pledges are recited, as the preceptor is describing the visualization of love and compassion, you should give away your body possessions and sources of virtue.
다치르 대다 동이 출 단디마 시우베레저 송럽니 시추 호도 체도스 땅위 거반니 소놈다 이시기 촌이 조버체위체 조버체위체스.
Now, if you wonder, how then do I meditate on giving away my body possessions and sources of virtue? The next section explains how to dispense your body possessions and roots of virtues in general. Now follows a general explanation according to the scriptures of just how we give away body possessions and virtue. The purpose of giving them away is that in so doing, we will complete the 2 collections of merit and wisdom. And this is the reason we should give them away.
대다 당한주다 소놈다 이시 촉니 조버 조그레스 다 소놈다 이시 촉세 디카르레스 다 디케쳔부치지 소놈다 이시 촉세 딩문진 치마투나 데니 소놈다 이시 촉사토 말 소놈다 이시 촉마사나 산지 콤버드세디 용고요 마로스 디지디다 소놈 그 촉디 칼샤그레스 라운디 소놈 그 촉디 조 베나다 직숑기 타니 재단 지바나 아니 탑 기찰이야 소놈 기초스 셰럽 기찰이야 이식 소스 어디리지라고라 다야 피기 제블에 되네 산기게 아니 수쿠단 추군이 용거레스 베나 아니 산기게 또비기 연데 산기 꾸이 연데 라 니용거다스 다 꾸이 연데 지비기 토마미 길런 정인 소래야 소놈 그 소다 can be 연데 아니 넘버 탐지 can be 이시기 꾼드비 견정인기 소정인 차들이야 아니 이식 소스 어딘지 순거레스 따로 민데 델다고레스
So here the section says the purpose of giving them away is that in so doing we will complete the two collections of merit and wisdom. So if you wonder what are these collections of merit and wisdom that the text refers to, well, when we explained it in conformity with what is found in scriptures, merit pertains to the method side, whereas the accumulation of exalted knowledge pertains to the wisdom side. So normally we said that we need to combine the two, method and wisdom. So the method side is what we call the accumulation of merit. It pertains to the accumulation of merit. And the wisdom side pertains to the accumulation of exalted knowledge. Now, if you wonder what are the roles of these two collections, well, we speak of the two bodies of Buddha. So when you attain the state of Buddhahood, you attain the two bodies of Buddha. And as such, we're looking at the qualities of the mind of Buddha and the qualities of the body of Buddha. So the accumulation of wisdom is what contributes to the body of Buddha, to those qualities of the body of Buddha, whereas the accumulation of exalted knowledge contributes, or it, let's say it contributes to the mind of a Buddha, which is an exalted knowledge, which knows all aspects. It is an omniscient exalted knowledge. The accumulation of exalted knowledge contributes to that.
Terda chidangi lu tanya chigbo lu longchu tanya chigbo lu longchu geza de cheba tanya de chigbo gi mado sonam gu cho zog mares na dindi mares ra zu di sonam cho zoya ge zu di ninji chamba chanju sem komya direshas ra kichi direshas da di bena da chi ninji makeba keba neba kondo peyage chedu ani lulonjo gezati cheba shenata ani chambayina titeji chanju semina titeji ngi samlo tambayina teni ta sok gyokbu shu zogyo sares ra.
So the section explains the way to complete the accumulation through giving away your body possessions and roots of virtue. It says the purpose of giving them away is that in so doing, we will complete the two collections of merit and wisdom. So you might be wondering, is it that the only way to complete the two accumulations is through giving away our body possessions and roots of virtue? Well, it's not like that. It's not that the only way to do that would be to give away your body possessions and roots of virtue, because to really, if you look at the main thing that is required for completing the two accumulations of merit and exalted knowledge, to complete them, the main thing that you need to do is to develop loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. These are the most important factors in completing the collections. So you generate compassion if you haven't done so far. You maintain compassion, prevent it from degenerating, and you increase it more and more. And similarly, you do the same with loving kindness. So you generate loving kindness if you haven't done it so far. You maintain it, prevent it from declining, and you increase it more and more. And if you focus on this, on loving kindness and compassion in this way, you will complete the two accumulations swiftly.
Odire dinza penangansuta namyu diriji lagores hunchun tembi namtar jinju duji nyamne sech ngi kew tamba choge namtar thi nganzu nyamne neres pe da yabu peoros pena kew tamba namtar jion de ni shi nganzu la ya tebaki ech yungudas pena pabo tomeki namtar di pena susuro ina ngonde tanda de jaje jadam injiri roch samgdos pena pabo tomeki jitun changbongo mudrondi kazingimajik shuza jitun changbongo mudrondi tani pe lochungni la ya kale gyavne mandrun ta chik thanda masun chechin madu se ane lamga gan man rondi ane nyam thabi ki jin thong an dila ming ni da ni ji rang me ba ke chin di gil ya an de ro ba chi rong di ngone tan da di chi re to da chi ra cha za do kai me bi ton da ngone gi pe gi te ya ni ji ke ni tu le on di teni ji cham go bi sha ngo si go ras da di gyun sen khar sa di so la bu chi zo ban za so la bu chi zo ban za an kerang gi ani ji cham go mo je go res ba dire do ra.
So normally we can gain that knowledge of the importance of those factors from the life stories of the great masters of the past. So normally when we look at, normally or regularly, when we look at the biographies of past masters, great masters, we can learn from their life stories the key point for our own practice. What are the key points for our own practice? Like for example, and through that faith arises. Strong faith will arise when you look at the biographies of the great masters of the past. Like for example, when you look at the life story of Asanga, Arya Asanga, and Geshe, in his mind, thinks that it is certainly this account, the story has certainly happened. It has certainly taken place. So Asanga was practicing for 12 years in order to come to see Maitreya face to face. He wanted to come and see Maitreya, to meet Maitreya face to face. And he was practicing for 12 years and he wasn't successful in doing that. And after 12 years, he was weary. One day, as he was walking along the road, he came across a dog that was in a pitiable situation. It was completely infested by maggots. And Asanga was completely controlled by compassion and sought to help that sick dog. So it's not that he had certain expectations to be reciprocated for his deeds. It's not that he was pretending to be controlled by compassion. It kind of compassion just took over. And through that, the story says that he completed the accumulations that were required for him to come to see Maitreya face to face. So indeed, after that, he met Maitreya in person.
Di Geshe gyatama yin gogro asirwa anzu tsok zo undi choju gyawa sedan chibi gita shen chiya chik yungro da di matse bigi ani choju gyawa sedan chibi kombang undi chiya di yungro as tsok zo undi tenza tsok zo ya gi tsok bigi da chik tsawa da maso na di ani shenpen ki samlo ninji ki samlo champi ki samlo chanchu ki sam o digi tila ya lakbaji chantuwa na ani ben tsokti gyokbu shochik zogdoya chik ra tsok zondi driba tayin gures rangyu ki chakdam onsum ki driba di taondi ani sem di pigi melonda masum na tsama chaondi ani pigi chima chinshin chik shartugu yores ra chokji gyawa sidan jiba pi ani nima nanshin chin susu semla ya shartugu yosarwas tirda anzu tsok mazo pardo karmu karche dewaina ani kawal tena kyen mado yonden thong matu gachik di ko sem ko jodan chikre do asra.
So certainly 100% certainly that this is the attitude that we need. And if we have this attitude, this compassionate attitude, we will complete the two collections. And through that, we also would be able to see Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of 10 directions face to face. We'll meet them in an actual sense. So in order to complete the collections, what we need to complete is, or cultivate, is loving kindness towards others, compassion, bodhicitta. We need to put them into practice. And when we do put them into practice, then quickly we amass the collections, we complete them. So, and through that also, our mind will become clearer. Our mind is like a mirror that has the ability to reflect things. So when you clean that mirror, then at some point, you'll be able to see, it would be so clear that your mirror like mind would be able to see Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions clearly, face to face. And that comes through the swift accumulation of the two collections, and without compassion towards sentient beings, you will not be able to complete the collections. Without completing the collection, we will still see faults in others. We will not see good qualities in others. Without completing the collections, we will still continue to see faults in others. This is the way that our mind works. The guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life says, I will give away without restriction my body possessions and the virtue I have produced in the 3 times to accomplish the welfare of all beings.
아니 직 촌두니 류소야게 체도 아니 직 로존치 데니 류소야게 체도 벤조사 류소야게 체도 칼리갸비임자 다 류다 론초 디션 땅고스 라바이나다 자원이니 셈라 마숑치 용시그로스 이네야디 땅땅디 라지 쳬바이나 아니 야시갸 담바 땅외바식 차고스레스로.
So then this section explains the general way of giving away our body possessions and roots of virtue. So we give away our body and possessions. We need to give away our body and possessions. But then when we think of the attitude that we have towards our body, first of all, we regard our body to be so precious to us, so important to us. And when we look at the things that we do for the sake of nourishing the body, for the sake of taking care of the body, so we study for years, we train at different things, we go to work and we make effort in all those different activities in order to sustain the body. And still the section says that we need to give away our body. So it becomes for us, to our mind at least, it becomes inconceivable to think of giving away the body that we hold so precious. But if you understand the manner in which we train in giving away a body, you come to see that actually it is a suitable, it is a worthwhile thing to do. It says, from amongst these, it is generally inappropriate to give away the body because it consists of unclean substances such as flesh and blood. For those who are eager, the way to do is explained below.
제 top chini 아니 셴라 땅바이나 다지 비게 샤타 사딩 젠센라 소버다 딘디지 랭가와질이야 데스 네가 칼라 튜지 소르질이야 펜시그르마도 셴 펜바갸 친구지 용고 마라와스 로 만첼다 고고 마라와스 딘자 디탄 고데 요마리 딘디친 탄 디그마레스 로.
So then first off, when we consider a body made of blood, flesh, bones, is here considered to be a body that consists of unclean substances. So if you cut pieces of your own body, but if you amputate parts, if you cut them away, you give them to others, you feed wild beasts, pieces of your own body, you might be able to help them one day with one meal. to a small group of living beings. And as such, it's not that doing so will give great benefit to a great number of beings. So there's no need, there's not much purpose to think that in giving away our own body, we're going to cut now pieces of our own body and feed other living beings. This is not the way.
Wana study olaya. Lu chedar tonans dombuko bindole. Daniel drova tamji ki nyewan tsuwi. Yijin ki lusu gyurni. Shedans da dinama chikchina inji dol sikda jangi sikra. Doji genzi yin dole. Jongwa chenpo shinna gon haso. Sul naso. Namjan haso ni simjen tamji la nyewan tsuwa teshindu. Chanju senpa Daniel ki luyan. Simjen tamji ki nyewan tsuwi shikyur. Shedan. Jonjule simjen namdun dribishir. Yijin ki lusu gyur. Che songpa tar. Kaan la kandyo ki namba tongwa de. Jonjule migi kawa pamitsi dan sedan komdu kyor. Simjen ponshin jingba la yovjin kogun hasosu dona nivar negir chik chedan. Dan ngome namjin gun lamshu namji debendan. Gamdo namji chudane sinda samba nyendun gyor. Lindur nyela lindane marmendo la marmedan nemeldo la nemeldan dan lüjen jendöba kungi jendun gyor shok. Ringa tripdan pumbasang basım kini shindatan sason jongwa chenpotan namga shendu tabaya sumje padu mewayi nama nyinzu shiyen shok. Teje namga tadubi sumjen kamla namgandu sumjen nyangin debardu dan nyinzu shiyen shok.
So it says, for those who are eager, the way to do this is explained below. If the body is to be given away, the array of the Tree Trunks Sutra says, you should transform yourself into a wish-fulfilling body that sustains all wandering beings. And the Sutra of the Vajra Victory Banner says, just as through various means and through various manifestations, the four great elements sustain all sentient beings, the Bodhisattva transforms his own body so that it is the basis for the sustaining of all sentient beings. And the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life says, during the intermediate eon of famine, may I become the food and drink for sentient beings who are poor and famished. May I remain in their presence as various necessities. And may I protect those without protection and be a guide leading those upon the path. May I become a vessel, a bridge, and a ship for those who wish to cross over the ocean. May I be an island for those searching for land, and a lamp for those needing a light. May I become a bed for those who need rest, and a servant for all those who want assistance. May I become accomplishing mantras and excellent vases, fabulous wish-fulfilling trees, and great elements such as the earth. May I be the basis of sustenance for limitless sentient beings existing eternally for them like space. In this way, just as all realms of sentient beings are infinite, like the expanse of the sky, may I become the basis for their sustenance until they all attain the state beyond sorrow.
Odere da di chadang da lojong sul chire dos ra anzu dile ya lojong slavana shinki lojong sul chire ma do ngo subi sosu shadale trip ludi jet top chini ani jin goyak jin tuna da digor de ne ya pigi ani jin tuya gi tuzujile le ba na jin gogores da jin tuya gi tuzula male pardo lojong chet ro lojong chet masiva kechenbo lojong dang samu dang dang de dindiji samu dan dan rogores ro dan da kontu ma dan sha di jidan sivu das dindiji yani yang dindiji samu dan tu ba na kanji rangyu ki chagdam monsum le ya negores di chögi ran le ya pengore geba chima le pengore sanji sala ya pe royal le pengore simjing gi di gi tenda le ya pen rogoras ra.
So this is the way in which we train our mind. This is the only way that we train in giving away our body and such. We train our mind in doing so. So it's not that we, in reality, in an actual sense, now start to cleave parts of our own body, cut them and give them to others. If you get to the point in which you can actually do it in a real sense, then you can do it. But before you get to the point in which you have developed enough to actually be able to give away parts of your own body for the sake of others, it is said that before you get to the point, you train your mind in doing that. And you train your mind in this way, in a way that it was explained here in the text. So we repeatedly think about it again and again. And the more we think about it, the more it harms our own anger and attachment in our own continuum. And as such, it will benefit us. It will benefit ourselves in our next lifetime, and would also contribute to the attainment of our own state of Buddhahood.
Chidani da lo singing di Kari Cholaya Combaina and di Cholaya Roding in Chagwasares, the Loy Korangi, Kejuch Ro. In the Tinza da Lojon the Rich Chegores, Lojon the Rich Chabana, and Dana Sing a Trumdrich Tungores or Disungora, the Ro.
So in general, when we train the mind in this way, we create habits, right? So we habituate the mind in one direction. And when we do that, the mind naturally turns towards that direction through habits. So when this is an attribute of the mind to become habituated with what we do. So this is the way here that we train our mind in giving.
There is a Chanjus and Binyam Chetan, the Chanjus and Basla on the Pe Massive Atene and Ganzutachi Shesa Majuna, Pe Godevu, Godevu Chigasaros, and Trumbo, and Tab Cable, Tindich, Tinza Chansagi, Chanjus and Bisali, that Chanjus and Bigi, any Nyamsul and Danchik, Songotas, Tejita, and one Jambupi or Sra.
This is the way that Bodhisattvas practice. And when you look at the way that they practice, you come to appreciate this as being so smart, such a clever way of training, so skillful. This is the way that Bodhisattvas train.
Chanjusembe Sales, Chanjusemba Nam Embersondes, Ra, Bak Sajakusimbu, Laya Drocheni, Embersonde, Nandu Duni, Samba Tachi, Ning Tabani, Tame Kundu, Toba Tagi, Jimber Chevi, Chun Namban Hatsu, Yachimbo, Pautumeba, Tag Mercy, Simjan Nama, Jimba, Tag Tober Chedi, Tigi Chanjuk Samba, Sik Chung, so Pautumeba, Perangurus, Ra. Loy Tobki, Ra, Loy Tobdi, Pemas Chimburedos, there are Luda Tob the Loy Tomni, Loy Tob the Dursakora Yomaris. Tinza would Loy in the sound down the Sok di Sik Chung Pig to Tono Namalia, so Paudume Batini, Pedro Yoris.
In the spiritual levels of the Bodhisattva, Sangha says, Bodhisattvas who have gone into solitude and have gathered their thoughts inwardly should purify the thoughts of selfishness, and from the bottom of their hearts, with sincere faith, should practice generosity out of their concern for all, imagining limitless, huge, and expensive variety of things, as well as providing sentient beings with actual gifts. In so doing, Bodhisattvas will expand these accumulations of merit limitlessly and with little hardship. This is a practice for Bodhisattvas who are endowed with great intelligence. So when you think then of the way that Bodhisattva practice, in the way that they train the mind, you can see that out of training one's body or training one's mind, training the mind is primary, it is so important. And also out of those two levels of training, physical training and mental training, we can see that mental training is way more stronger than physical training. So if you take up this mental training just in a short period of time, you can accumulate a great accumulation of merit.
Yeah, that loy top singing the Chimbu Imbati Hakona, Tini, any Samlo Daniel, Chichina is Pingiros, and the loy top slound, loy piggy, Zumbling Kora Jailaya, second Kashinalalia, Kora Kashish Yaptogras, log, Lu Chik Zambali Kora Javasuna, 빼망부 뒤져 빼망부 gorguras더라. 투 말다 메젠디 나올래 수수피 공부하는 수수랑기 돈이 아니 잠블이 거라기하고는 뒤져가는 당 말았어. 로에 아니 니마를에 자타망부 거트와 난 신기 라 아니 로이 톱디 빼마서 침부 이제 로이 돈이 아니 로종기 름바티긴텔이야 지금 주도가나 아니 초델라 조그레세디 야시야다마 인사레스.
Here it speaks of the strength of our mind. So if we need to think of the strength of our own mind. If we think about it, definitely we'll get benefit from recognizing how strong a mind is. Like, for example, a mind can go around the world just in a matter of a few seconds to completely complete one circle around the world. Whereas if we try to do it physically with our own body, it will take so much time. If we think of walking and covering the whole world, right, going full circle around the world, it's likely that we're not going to get it. We're not going to do it. We don't have enough strength to do it. We also don't have the time, the leisure to do it. But a mind can do it a few hundred times every day. So in that sense, we can see how a mind is way stronger than the body. So if we then use our mind for such practice, if we do it, we can easily and swiftly, without hardship, complete the collections.
아니 타우켈 투지면 템바까디지 콘스 사마 담분 잠불을 끼어는 간저도 찍바로 왔어. 미 간저 나 신기 미지레마도 믹스에 가요 말았어. 이나야 콘줄로이 떡기 아니 전주선비 컴퍼니가 산지 컴퍼니가 디 로이 떡 랑르마도 수위 루 개발 싸우는 말했어. 라 루 개발 땅 간저 찍바랬어. 어딘자 땅 간저 로 미징이 바이나 컨트롤에 아니 럽치에도스 라 간스나 로덥치에요스 이제 로이톱디 아니 베마스바 계신보레셨어
그런데 시왈라라임베 하면 상기.
전주삼바.
So bodhisattvas in general are like us, in a sense that it's persons, as people that are just like us, but in their mind they develop bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, which means that they utilize the power of the mind. Rather than thinking that physically, the physical constituency is different to our physical body, it's not this different. It's rather that they utilize the power of the mind. And therefore, the mind has such a greater power comparing with the body.
투그레스 가린 투그레스로 먼저 냠린치 투그레 내가치 투그레 가린 투그레스 투그 말했어 삼바이나 투그 말했어 다 디리 다 로이 케바치크스로.
So that when you think about it, if you think to yourself, I can do it, if you think I can do it, you'll be able to put it into practice and you'll also be able to do whatever you set out to do. Whereas if you think, I can't do it, you will not be able to put things into practice, and also you will not be able to do other things.
데레저 데네다 데네마 데네 찬주 셈바 셰럽 쳔보다 뎀바 짐바워스 데르다 셰럽 쳔보 남주 쳔보 로덥 쳔보 여비 더 진투고레스 셰송바다르 셈반들 니 짐바워스 지발로드라.
So the section from Asanga's text finishes with saying, this is a practice for bodhisattvas who are endowed with great intelligence, great wisdom.
Dan 셰송바다르 셈반들라 니 줄라 타와다 넬라 타와 담볼라 니 람라 마슈비 칸살람보와타 람주기 칸살람보와 담보네 랑리 류 양수라 소비 찬일게 슈르라 소비 찬일게 년세와다 년콜비 심진니와 진니여 번남라 땅에 대탐지 시유지스 착서 짝세도 제봤다 파비 놀든지 추비 토리기 연데 든든기 단주기 류 shut out top of samo. Yijin you nobu rumbu chele, segu, so, kanawan, jindun jowantar, yijin you lose chebali, miyu tedala, kazi rojaba, gotonda jaba, kamba zigba nga jaba, mulum chigdu chibi, chokposum chobati, kangi long chibi te, yokana long chibi long chibi, kanda linji long chibi, korposum chobo, tamje gen teba chimbu, tambi chudribin tunjen gewa samo. 대신도 지gen 주 대버침이 기위신이 생기는 dembi 계전도 지순 점바 간의 퇴숨 자비기 시 동하기 손으로 서버 지gen 남다 난기게 대소 파빈 놀든 수tumla 서버 수tumla 접어서 라버름 붙이 숨디 너나 잠인지 싸워 찬주기 셈 찬주기 셈 길게디 접어 파르도 좀쭉 제비 손인 탈친데 산진이 심진 탐제경 샘규 취구 대화단 덴바 사모스
What the Sangha is teaching here can be explained in terms of giving to the inhabitants who are living beings and giving to the environment which beings inhabit. The first of these involves giving to those who are not engaged in the spiritual path and offering to those who are. Right, so we're going to begin the next section that explains giving to those not engaged, in the spiritual path. We should first give our bodies to those beings in the 8 hot hells, such as reviving hell, then to the beings in the 8 cold hells, such as the blistering hell. Then we should give to beings in the surrounding hells and to beings in the occasional hells whose suffering are felt intermittently. To these beings, we should give whatever we can, transforming everything just as an alchemical elixir changes iron into gold. We should imagine that those beings attain lives with the freedom and opportunity to practice the doctrine. We should think that they are enriched with the 7 jewels of an exalted beings, as well as the 7 good qualities of high status. Just as the precious wish-fulfilling jewel provides whatever we desire, such as food and clothing, so should we imagine that in giving away our bodies, they grant all wishes, manifest as food imbued with 100 flavors, clothing to the value of 1,000 gold coins, mansions with 500 floors, and excellent companions who act only as inspiration, who are associated with enjoyment, who delight in whatever objects are to be enjoyed, and who, surrounded by their possessions, are replete with everything. They are also to be imagined as being favorable factors of the accomplishment of the very highest teachings of the great vehicle. Similarly, since the principal external influence as well as is a well-qualified and virtuous spiritual friend of the great vehicle, we should visualize our bodies as providing the basis for hearing, contemplating, and practicing the doctrine. External factors such as scriptures of Sutra and Tantra, and internal ones such as the 7 jewels of an exalted being, and the 3 precious trainings in ethics, meditative stability, and discriminating intelligence. Essentially, these generate love and compassion in individuals' mind streams, acting as a wellspring for the awakening mind. We should then imagine that through the practice of the 6 transcending perfections, they reach the culmination of the 2 accumulations, Buddhahood, where the mind streams are endowed with the eternal delight of the perfect body of truth, or the perfect Dhammakaya.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will leave it here for now. Okay, so earlier we mentioned giving away our body possessions and roots of virtues, giving them away to sentient beings, so things which were produced in the 3 times. So what does it refer to? What are those 3 times? Yeah. Dila lu long to get a sum the jimba tamwa na ani Dusung Lu Longchu Geshe den Tangu Resajwa. 저는 Dusung 세야디 tonto 카레이나.
디드르다 데비투 다디투 마음비투 숨려야 자르고라스 라 안 데비투려야 소소려야 류론주 게자 강총샤바디 미위라 치키 다디투스 소소라 류론주 게자 강여바디 미위라 치키 마음반 종규 소소려야 류론주 게자 강종규 여바 드 참말로 베푸게 삼손디 또 체슈 차고라스 라
So the three times refer to the past, present, and future. So the way that you think about it is you think of, for example, all the bodies and possessions and roots of virtues that you have had in the past, in previous lifetimes and such. You call them to mind in that you think about them, you observe them, and then you think that I'm giving them away to others. Similarly, you think of your body possessions at the present, and you think that I'm taking them up in my mind, I'm visualize them in front of me, and I'm giving them away to others. You think of the ones that you will have in the future. Again, you observe them in your mind, and you think, I'm giving them away to others. So if you can think about it like that, elaborately, and focus on all of them, you will also accumulate a great degree of the collections.
Thank you.
So thank you. So let's do the dedication verses. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, might quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigrated beings who makes extremely clear the path that is unification of emptiness and compassion, to the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You uphold the subduous moral way who sevens the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading my gymnastic victorious doctrine, who mercifully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels. Sever of myself and others, your disciples, please live long.